Ben Askren joins the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
What's up, Ben? How you doing, buddy? Bisping here. You know, we were just having a little trip down memory lane. Our producer here was just pulling up some old tweets of me and you going back and forth back in the day.
Well, that's one of my favorite things to do is just, harass people on Twitter. That's quite entertaining.
No, absolutely, because we were talking about it, and I'm like, I don't even know what it was about, but I said, I think we talked some shit back and forth, but it was just,
I don't know. What was it about?
It was about Alan Belcher. You were just trying to set up a fight between those guys, which I'll just point out, I wouldn't convincingly, but it's all good, buddy.
So, Ben, how's it going, man? How's life been treating you lately?
Good, everything's good. I'm busy. I finished training a little bit ago. Got home, got some dinner, hopped on the phone with you guys. So everything's good.
Very cool, very cool. Now, what's been going on with you and Kelvin Gastelum talking shit with each other?
He's nothing. He's a dum-dum. I mean, so Tyron beat him. Listen, first of all, the guy doesn't make weight by 10 pounds. I mean, who does that? Like,
no, that is ridiculous.
So ridiculous. I mean, in wrestling, in my world, in wrestling where I come from, if you miss weight by 0.2 pounds, everyone thinks you're an idiot. 0.2, not 10. 10, that's no one's ever heard of that. That would be the most weird thing that's ever happened in the world. But then Tyron broke his foot in the first round. Tyron beat him, and the guy's saying, he doesn't want to fight me. And it's just holy moly, dude, zip it. And then he tries using his lame line that a lot of these guys, no one knows who you are. And it's listen, despite the fact that you've been being pushed by the UFC marketing machine, you still have significantly less followers than me because you're uninteresting and nobody likes you. So just shut up.
That's pretty funny. I'm just looking at your record, Ben, and I had no idea you're 18-0. I mean, that is very, very impressive. But with the greatest of respect, and I'm not trying to be an asshole here, when I look at these names...
That's kind of who you are, right?
Yeah, well, of course it is. I am what it says on the tin. But I look at these names. Of course, I recognize some of them, but they're not exactly household names in the UFC. What do you say to somebody that says, now you're going to face a big step up in competition? What is your response to that?
There's two things there. Obviously, number one of my main training partners is Tyron Woodley, and he's number one in the division. So obviously, I understand exactly how good the division is because I train with the best guy in it. And then number two, I would say Andrei Koreshkov and Douglas Lima, who I fought in Bellator. They're really high-level guys. Koreshkov killed Benson Henderson, who was a UFC champion, who at lightweight, but he was ranked top 10 at welterweight. And Douglas Lima had a war with Rory McDonald, who was ranked as high as number 2 for a long period of time. And so, those guys,
Yep.
Those two in particular, are very tough opponents, and they've shown that against would be former UFC guys, Benson Henderson, Lorenz Larkin, and Douglas Lima.
Well, do you know what? To be fair, that is a perfect answer because as I said that to you, I was only looking at the top of the record. Of course, you got Shinya Aoki, but then there's some names that I can't pronounce. But as you rightly pointed out, as you go down, you have got Koreshkov, you've got Carla Musa, you've got Douglas Lima, Jay Hiron, so... I used to train with Koreshkov down at Ruka as well, and you're right, he is very, very good on the feet, very, very talented fighter. So, yeah, I take that back, Ben, I take it back.
Yeah, Koreshkov's good, and I didn't get a lot of credit for that win because no one knew who he was at that time. And then, after I beat him, he won another Bellator tournament, then he beat Douglas Lima, and then he beat Lorenz Larkin, and then he killed Ben Henderson. So then, then he got a lot of name recognition after that, but at the time I beat him, he was kind of an unknown commodity, so no one gave me much credit. And Mike, in that fight, I outstruck him 248-1, and the one strike he landed, I shot a double leg, and he happened to just so luckily land a knee as I was coming in. But I would argue that my face impacted his leg harder than his leg impacted my face.
Ben,
so we'll just call it a shutout.
Ben, you're just showing off now. You're just showing off. I'm sorry. They believe you, me fans. We don't appreciate, pure arrogance. I mean, 248-1. I mean, wheel it in
Mike,
a little
you ever heard
bit,
of a
please.
stat like that, though? Come on, that's a good stat.
Hey, no, that is absolutely ridiculous.
By the way,
It
I have
really
to
is.
step in for a
hold
second
on.
and say Michael Bisping brings up stats like that 4 times a show. He's like, just so you know, I'm the #1 British fighter at avoiding takedowns.
Yeah.
In the UFC.
Well, no, that sounds like my wife, Ben, because I'll say to her, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm looking at the podcast charts. I'm like, and she's like, well, where are you? I'm like, I'm 24. She's what, number 24? She's like, what, in all of them? I'm like, no, in sports and recreation in the UK about MMA, we're number 24.
She keeps you honest. That's good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So look, I mean, you're talking shit with Kelvin, right? And we've talked about this before. You and Woodley are not going to fight each other anytime soon, anyway.
Yeah.
Is there any interest in you possibly moving up to 185? Obviously, the big fight with Robbie Lawler coming up, UFC 235, but. You know, there's really no means to an end there. You want to become a UFC champion. Any interest in making that jump to 185 because Kelvin spent most of his career at welterweight?
No, I won't. So there's a couple things. I won't make that jump. I'm really small for that weight class. You know, 165 is probably the ideal weight class for me. I wrestled 163 at the international level in wrestling. So 165 is probably actually ideal. I think there is a chance they make it. You know, obviously Dana's saying that ain't going to happen, but we don't always trust what he says. And then number 2 is, you know, listen, I haven't fought any of these dudes. There's a whole bunch of them I don't like. So, you know, I could have a fighter I don't like every single month of 2019 and just knock them all out. I mean, I don't have to go anywhere. And then, you know, Tyron obviously made the last thing. Tyron made mention of moving to welterweight once he defends the title 2 more times. So there's a lot of things that can happen there. Obviously, the MMA world's crazy. You never know. But I think I got plenty of fights at 170 that I want to go fight.
You know what, Ben? I can't roll my eyes hard enough. Anytime, and with the greatest of respect, that's my disclaimer. Anytime the welterweights talk about the fucking 165-pound division, 155 to 170, and you want one in between. From
No. You move 170 to 175.
From 185 to 205 is a 20-pound fucking gap. There's no talk of a 195 division. Fuck you. If you get a 165, I want a 195.
There's no good fighters at that weight class.
No, I know. I'm kidding. All right, listen. Robbie Lawler. Been around forever, former champion, as tough as they come. Good wrestling, power in his hands. How do you see the fight going?
I think you described it pretty well. He's very good. You know, I'm gonna have to put the pressure on him. I'm gonna have to put takedowns together. It's not gonna be easy. Where I'm just gonna get one takedown and choke him out. I'm gonna have to put some takedowns together and put the pressure on him. You know, he fights in a way that's like he sprints and then he takes a break, and he sprints and he takes a break, and so I have to fight at a constant pace, so I take those sprints away from him, dominate the top position, make him exhausted, and obviously don't let him land any big strikes because he has a lot of power.
And you know, he has a loss to Tyron, but it was a big knockout loss. Do you plan on standing up with him at all, or is this pretty much you're going to go to the wrestling?
We'll start standing, of course. But no, I'm going to do what I do best. I'll put pressure on him, and there's obviously no guarantee I get a takedown right away. And so if we end up standing for a little bit, it's no big deal. I can do that. But you know, as far as me knocking him, Tyron and I are completely different fighters. I believe he has more knockdowns per strike thrown than anyone in maybe anyone in the whole UFC, maybe anyone at welterweight. I don't remember exactly what his stat was. But he's got big power. He knocks people down, and I just don't possess that ability.
Now, I mean, obviously, you've been probably asked ad nauseum about the pressure coming up with your first UFC fight ever. Is it starting to get more real the closer you get to the fight? Is there any of that creeping in? Is there any a little bit maybe nerves creeping in?
No, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, that's one thing that struck me about you, Ben. I spent a little time doing Milwaukee. I was talking about that recently. Listen, you know, a lot of guys like us, we always talk a big game, but you know, you have the skills to back it up, and there is a calm confidence about you that isn't bullshit. You know, a lot of people talk shit, you know, but I can tell with you, it is the real deal. But Of course, your wrestling skill set is fantastic. I mean, I obviously never wrestled you, but it's, you know, you're very decorated and people say how tremendous you are. That aside, how would you rank yourself on the feet? If you had no choice, let's say something, the ability to take somebody down was taken away from you in the fight. Are you comfortable on your feet?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting question, right? Because we're not fighting a kickboxing match, and so there's a whole bunch of factors in here. I mean, the biggest one that's in my favor is that I don't have to worry about you taking me down. If you want to shoot on me, I love it. Go ahead and do it. Right? If you want to try to take me down, that's fantastic. I love it. So I have zero care about you trying to take me down, and you always have to worry about me trying to take you down. And so that's two factors right there that people don't consider. That's a huge deal. And then number two is, you're always worried about space, you know, you being my opponent are always worried about space, and I'm not really too worried about space.
Yeah.
Once you get close enough to hit me, I'm close enough to grab you and take you down. So again, you're always worried about that range. So I think, you know, if we're talking like strictly, I'm just got to kickbox, now that's a different story. If we could talk, I have to stand up in MMA, you know, there's a whole bunch more pieces of that puzzle, which you know, the wrestling does affect. Right? Because if I get you down, you're not down for like 10 seconds. You're probably down for the entire round. And so you're really having to hold back on everything that you would like to throw. You can't throw all of that stuff.
Yeah, no, listen, 100%. I'm always trying to explain this to people, how difficult it is to fight somebody that is just trying to take you down. Or not only just trying to take you down, but has the real threat of taking you down. Because then sometimes they end up beating you in the stand-up because you're so concerned with the threat of the takedown, you forget about the hands. Then you're waiting for a shot, you get caught with the right hand, or so on and so forth. And as you said about the space, you back up a little bit. You see that I'm close to the fence. You shoot in. I try and sprawl. You push me up against the fence. Now you switch into singles to doubles all day long. So fighting people like you is a fucking pain in the ass, Ben. It really is.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I'm retired.
I mean, you guys remember when Chael Sonnen knocked down Anderson Silva? Like, for God's sakes, who thought? If they ever fight a kickboxing match, that ain't going down like that.
Yeah. Nobody saw that happening. Ben, this is sort of almost, maybe a gag at this point. I don't even know. But it's been a sort of public knowledge that you and Dana White have not been best of friends. Have you guys spoken yet? It's been a while.
No.
No?
No.
Not even one text.